You'll have an opportunity afterward to do this if you haven't had a chance to finish up. It might even make a little more sense after you hear the presentation. Thank you. So my name is Beth Giroux. I'm co-chair of the Neighborhood Community Organization. And what I thought I'd do is, rather than having everybody introduce themselves, and go around and ask some questions to set the tone for our speakers. But first, board members that are here: Terry Morton, Mike Myers, Jen Spencer. Who else? Thank you, Mary Shue, one of our new members. So first of all, how many people are here from the River Road Community Organization? How many from Santa Clara? Thank you.
Yeah, it's on the screen. People on the screen.
I don't see anybody there.
I think that's us.
How many of you participated in any of the community meetings that we had when we were doing the neighborhood planning process? Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Multiple. How about those that served on the community advisory committee? I see. Great. And familiar with the neighborhood action plan? How many of you have read through that? Oh, wonderful. Okay. And that's what you see back here. Thank you very much. So announcements. Linda, you have an announcement to make.
Hi, everybody. My name is Linda Lovick, and I have two quick announcements. One is a follow-up to the healthcare forum, the second Eugene Citywide Healthcare Forum that was held on March 1st. There was a brief 2-paragraph summary in our e-newsletter, and in this current issue of 50 Plus magazine, there's a longer article with more information in it. And you can get them at many places. They're all over the city. And I brought these from the River Road Recreation Center. You're welcome to take one. They're free. So you can pick one up here, and there's just a few, and there's more at River Road. My second announcement is that I'm, with a few other people, starting a project to try and recapture a bus route that serves River Road Recreation Center. They're very enthusiastic about it. AARP is enthusiastic about it. I'm enthusiastic about it. From my household to the nearest bus stop is a 1-mile walk. And that's very common for River Road neighborhood. So if anybody, I know that there's 2 people on the transportation committee that I sent an email to, and I don't have collaboration with, I don't have official collaboration with River Road Community Center. Oh, thumbs up. Thank you, John.
For the neighborhood, yes.
Okay, so there's some enthusiasm too. But I just wanted to say, if anybody else here wants to join me and our very small group of 3 or 4 other people who are interested in moving forward on this, you could talk to me after the official meeting is over. My name is Linda Lovick, and let me have you join me, and we'll be friends. John?
Yes, to that end, we are forming our transportation committee, and we have several people who are interested, but I was going to pass around a sign-up sheet for anybody else who is interested to add to that list. We'll have a meeting after April 15th. I'm a little tied up until that point.
I'll sign up.
Okay, we'll start with you then.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Jan?
The take is still on the month away, but on May the 17th, which is a Saturday, a meeting at Rosanna Park at 1 o'clock. We're going to do some site tours. We're going to visit several properties here in River Road to take a look at what suburban permaculture elevating the level of not only preparedness, but resilience, at a home level, but also somewhat at a neighborhood level too. So that I'm sure will end up being in River Road Monthly e-news, but this is just an early heads up. 17th of May at Rosetta Park, which is Benjamin and Evergreen at 1 o'clock. So we'll put some more info out for that, but we're going to water catchment, front yard gardens, edible landscape, just all kinds of permaculture relating to what you see on these three posters as well here. So please put it on your calendar.
Thank you, Jen.
Yes. I'm Honeybee, aka Jen Holiday, and I've been in this community, been living at my house since 2000, and I moved to town in '94. And I used to work at River Road Park, and I was there going to a flies class the other day, and I saw a little sign that said pesticides. So the whole time in class, I was pissed. And then afterwards, I went to the front desk and wanted to know who sprayed, what they sprayed, where they sprayed, and why. And I got someone from the back, someone's here for pesticides. I hear them say, oh, great. So I'm like, great, thanks a lot. Come on out. Hi, I'm the superintendent. I'm like, great. She wants to shake my hand. I really didn't want anything to do with that. And the guy, kind of was like, well, I sprayed it when it was mid-drift and it was drying behind me, and saying all the things as you'd like to see on a piece of paper, And I'm like, can you tell me where and what? And when? So it was Roundup, didn't say it on the form. It was at 7 a.m. And, the amount of people, pets, plants, and pollinators that are there at that park that we are trying to have, that we are paying taxes for being there, I feel that we can do better. It is 2025. And for them to just feel like, well, we like to hear what you have to say, but we're really not going to say we're doing anything about it. So that kind of irked me also. And then I said, can you please tell me where you sprayed it? And they said, well, we sprayed it on the cracks in the pavement because the grass or some kind of weed is starting to spread the cracks out. So we're going to have to resurface our sidewalks and our pavement earlier. And I was like, well, you could use 30% vinegar and you could heat it or you could burn it since it's a sidewalk. You're not hurting anything. And the guy chimed in and says, well, we've heard that doesn't work as well. And I just said, well, it also doesn't cause cancer. And, you're telling me that you care more about a piece of grass in a crack than you do about all people, pets, plants, and pollinators. And I'm not just saying that because all your trees are in full bloom right now. I'm saying that because it just really bumps me out. That hurts my soul. And they're like, would you like to talk further in another room? And I was like, no, I don't want to talk further about it. I'm going to let RRCO know about it. And then we're going to see what else we can do, because you're only telling me if that was Roundup that one time. And you said it's one of the pesticides you choose to use when there are so many other things. And I said, if the vinegar doesn't work as well, you could do it twice. And they said, well, it's not his only job. And I said, I understand that, but you really could do better. And I really hope that you do. So I'm standing up for myself, for the pollinators. I'm hoping that others are going to do their own part with being able to step up and say something, because it is 2025. And we know so many other things that could work better than the Roundup. So please join me in saying something. I could do a clipboard piece of paper. Y'all can sign it if you want. We could start something like that, or it'd be great if RRCO or someone on the board wants to help with, starting something that would be more sustainable for our future health of all of us. And so that would be awesome. I have a little flyer. It's my educational 4x4 flyer, and I have it at the meeting that we have, our big events, whatever that thing's called. It's called River Celebration. There you go. River Road Community, which we are gardens and along the river. So we should all be putting things in the ground. So it is a time. I caught my first swarm on Saturdays. They are starting to do it. So if you do see a swarm, you're welcome to call me. I am on the Lane County Bee Association for that. You can call them. You can call Backyard Farm or places like that if you do see a swarm and realize that they are very, very vulnerable, and I can help take care of that. And I'm part of a what's it called? A sustainability freedom market once a month. It's always on the second Sunday from 12 until 4. And this Sunday it's going to be at the Grange in Springfield. And the Elks. Yeah. So if you want to know information, contact me. I'm gonna put these up on the board out there, hopefully. And then I have a few non-fancy black and white ones, so I can pass that on if anyone wants. Definitely no pressure. If you take a picture of it, then you'll have it for forever. And, thanks for letting me speak my truth. Hey, truth made it. Good.
So did you want to pass around to sign up?
Sure.
People to contact you. I'll just pass this.
It's not a city park. It's not a city park. It's River Road.
What I'm wondering is, could we copy with it?
Oh,
Suggestion.
Yeah, I know they don't use it from here, from my house, like right at the end of where it hits Coffee. They don't use it from there to the Rose Gardens because I sat in with city officials many years ago, and then we signed a paperwork that we would help with any kind of weeds if necessary and digging and things like that. And, but after Rose Gardens on, whatever they use in Rose Gardens and down that way further, then I know that that's their department, but I don't know. But in this River Road area, we don't belong here. So, yeah, that would be great.
you want to pass that around?
What is it? I'm interested in joining our post-transportation committee.
And that's the transportation.
I want to sign. Thank you.
If you're interested in parks, you're probably interested in transportation too.
I have 6 jobs to hold down with my roll back now, but I can pass this way someone else.
Go ahead.
My name's Kate Perley, and I'm chair of the Santa Clara Community Organization. I just wanted to be sure you're invited to our annual Aubrey Park Wildflower Festival, which is May 5th, May 3rd, from 11 to 2 at Aubrey Park. There's lots of great information about native plants, and it's a great way to build a community in the neighborhood. And then our next month SACWA meeting is going to feature a presentation from Jameson Otten at LTD, and maybe Brian and Stefan from the Y to talk about what their plans are for the rest of the site up there by the transfer station. So you should feel welcome to come or to tune in virtually. You can find the link on our website.
That was Friday, May 2nd.
That's the first Thursday in May. So I still have a calendar in front of me.
And maybe we can put it in our newsletter. Yes.
Hi, my name is Dedrick Perry, and I live at Austin Ivanhoe. And I just want to announce that we do community dance every Sunday. You might have seen us if you're biking, walking down the river. So it's the intersection Mary Lane with the river bike path, and we just dance and have frisbees and balls and bubbles, and kids and everybody walk on. So it's free. And we do accept donations, but there's no barriers.
Sunday the 11th?
11 to 1 on Sunday, every Sunday. And we're back at the river until the fall.
Great. We're going to, now that the weather's a little nicer. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, terrific. So our program tonight is going to be centered on the intersection between the city planning process and the neighborhood planning process. And as many of you know, and I saw a lot of hands go up that you have participated in the conversation. It was a 7-year-long process, and out of that came some ideas for action planning, which you see on the 5 boards back here, the 5 categories and the action planning around that. So we've invited Jason Dedrick from the city, who is the leading for the city strategic planning process, and Cindy and Julien from the Office of Equity and Community Engagement, which will be the office that we'll be working with as we begin to look at how the plan, the action plan is implemented. And then Kate's going to talk a little bit about what the Santa Clara Community Organization has done in terms of beginning to prioritize the actions. And then at the end, I'd like to talk a little bit about, so what do we do? Santa Clara, River Road, how do we work together to form a committee to begin to work with the city as the action plan is implemented? So with that, I'll turn it over to Jason, and you might want to say anything more about your job.
Cool, thank you.
Should I bring up the slides up here?
Yeah.
Okay. You can do that. Where's the full screen, Julie?
That screen shared with those online?
Yeah, do you know, is that?
Oh, we'll have to go back to the meeting and push present.
Okay, great. All right, I will have you do that and I'll start. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jason Dedrick. I am in the Strategic Planning and Performance Program at the city. We are a program of 2 people located in the city manager's office. We were sort of formed as a team when the city brought the strategic plan on board and to support implementation of that plan both in the community and inside the organization. I've been with the city for 18 years, which I'm not sure how that happened so quickly. As John said, I'm catching up to him a little bit in the crane, beard, and hair category, and that's from 18 years working for the city. And I'm sure his is from many, many years, and yours all as well, working with us. So we share all that greatness. I started with the city. My first 5 years was in the planning division at the time when Eugene and Springfield split our urban growth boundaries. So I was working on our buildable lands inventory, urban growth planning. I think I was at the first meeting of this plan, some of those first meetings that were out at North Eugene High School. So I know I've been here a long time then, if I was here for the beginning of that. Also worked on the Razor Park Mixed Use Center project, which feels like 1,000 years ago as well. So what I want to do today is just talk a little bit about our organizational strategic plan. This is something new for us. We've actually never had a strategic plan, which is a little odd for city government to not have that. I think that we've done a great job of being responsive to the community and maybe not as good of a job as we can be in terms of being strategic with really sort of laser focus on the things we want to make a change on in the community. So having a strategic plan really helps us in doing that. And so what I want to do is just talk a bit about the plan, and I'll reference back to your efforts and kind of your 5 big areas that you have in your plans to help you see sort of the relationship between the things you're working on and our plan. Our plan does not cover everything we do as a city. Sometimes you will see strategic plans for a county or a city that cover everything the organization does. You'll see other plans that are a little more, we're going to keep doing all those things, but these are the things we're going to put extra oomph into. That's the plan we have, is sort of the extra oomph plan, as I like to call it, where we say these are the things that were really going to be our strategic priorities. So I'll walk through those, talk about some of the plans that intersect. I think my goal is really to help give you kind of a scanning pass at, if you want to engage on some of the topics that are on those boards, where to go in the organization to engage on those, and what existing plans we have that you can be looking at and working with. And now this isn't working. Let's see if this works. Hang on a second.
Sometimes you can just use the arrows
Where are the arrows?
on the keyboard.
Oh, yeah, I know now. Yeah, the arrows are unfortunately not working.
Is it just because the cursor is in that one source?
Wow. This is just gonna zoom in. Yeah. I guess I can go. I can just go page by page this way. Maybe it'll work now. Yep, there we go. It's working. Cool. So, how our plan was created, or why the plan was created, again, I said we were a bit reactive as an organization. This was an effort to say we're going to say where we want to go and chart our progress to get there so that we can be transparent with the community to say, this is where we said we wanted to go. Here's what we did to get there. It doesn't really work if you don't say where you want to get. And then you're just like, yay, we keep delivering services. That's great. But is it getting outcomes for the community in the way we want? It also really helps us to sync up our efforts better. We're a large organization with 6 departments and 1,500 staff and so many plans and projects that nobody would want to track them all. How do we make sure that we're getting collective impact across everything we're doing to the things that matter for the community? And having a strategic plan allows us to do that better than we've done it in the past. I'm gonna So back in 2022, we did our first community survey in 12 years. It had actually been 2010, the last time we've gone out to the community as a whole organization and said, what's going on for you? What do you care about? What do you want to see us working on? And so I want to share a little bit about this because it became the foundation for the plan. So we asked an open-ended question, what are the 5 things that you feel like could improve quality of life in Eugene? And this is what folks came up with. By the way, this was 2 different, the same survey administered 2 different ways. One was to randomly selected households in Eugene that we made sure were representative of demographics in Eugene and by council ward. The other was anyone in the community could take it. These results actually were the same across both of those surveys. And so for this question, but these are the top 5 things people said. Most of these have a pretty good connection with homelessness, which in 2022 was even probably a bigger issue than it is right now. Transportation was also there as an issue. We asked people how satisfied they were in Eugene. As you can see, 77% were pretty satisfied in Eugene with their life here. There were some other questions in the survey that lead us to believe people are really struggling though in our community. So they're satisfied, but maybe still struggling. We asked a set of questions that were, what kinds of things do you think you want to have in your community and how well do you think those things are being delivered? And then the gap between those, when you look at that, it's what are the things where we have the most improvement, area for improvement as a community. We asked about things that aren't just what the city does because we know those things also matter. As community members, you're not sitting around going, who does what? You're just like, we want these things, right? So things show up here that the city doesn't do, like K through 12 education. We do a little bit of after school and childcare, but not a lot. So these are the things that people are saying in the community we really want us to improve on. And when we asked about quality of life, what's important here, I think, is people feel good about the city, the community at large, and 60% feel like they belong in the community, but those numbers are higher in their neighborhood. And so the work that you do and how people feel a sense of belonging is much more, they feel that more in their neighborhoods than they do in the community as a whole. And I think that's a result of some of the work you do, and it helps us remember that's how people tend to identify, is their community where they live, not necessarily the larger Eugene. So in terms of developing the plan, we used those community survey results. We had a series of workshops in the fall of 2022 with staff, community members, and city council. That process developed sort of 4 big focus areas. Staff then developed a set of strategic goals and actions, and then we completed that plan and presented it to council in summer of 2023. So it's a 4-year plan that we are checking in on annually, and then we'll look at again in 2027 to see sort of how we're doing. So the plan itself is based on those 4 key focus areas, which I'll talk about in a minute. Spread across those are 15 strategic goals. Below those are 44 high impact actions. Those are the things we identified and said, if we do these things well, it hopefully will move the dial on those strategic goals. And then beneath those are a bunch of other actions, hundreds of things we do as an organization to support the plan. And I included the measures piece because we haven't done a great job as an organization around measuring actual outcomes and impacts for community members. We do a nice job of what we call inputs and outputs. Like we did 23 of these, or we produced 127 of this, or we spent these many dollars. But we haven't done as great of a job on how has your life been positively impacted by the things we're doing. So the city has embarked on a new effort to collect a lot more data about what we do so that we can measure, so that we can say if it's not getting us what we wanted or what you wanted, then we need to recalibrate, we need to go a different direction. So we're trying to do a lot better with how we use data about the community to inform what we do. So these are those 4 key focus areas. I'm going to spend a lot of time, the remaining time I have tonight, on the urgent community needs, because that's the biggest intersection between your plan and the strategic plan. So these are the things that came up in the community survey: economic development, housing, homelessness, downtown, and safety are sort of, and climate and community resilience. So those are the things that are kind of those high priority community issues. Communication and outreach is another important part of our plan, how we talk with the community, how we listen to you, how you understand what we're doing, how we understand what you want. Culture of belonging is a lot around the how of our work. Lots of cities deliver the services we do. but can you do it in a way that actually promotes a sense of belonging in the community? I think some places do better than others. We're striving to be one of the better at that because we want to, when you interact with the city or interact with our services, feel like this is a place you belong, because that's why we have communities, because it's somewhere that you feel like you belong. So this is more than just doing the work that the Office of Equity and Community Engagement is doing. It's more than just the work of neighborhood associations. It's really kind of top to bottom as an organization. Are we promoting belonging in everything that we do? And then the last piece is internally focused. It's about how we take care of our staff, how we deliver a balanced budget, and how we be more strategic and sort of data-led with the things that we do. And those look like 4 different sort of silos, but they're really interconnected. So our belonging work is also our communication work, and our urgent community needs are informed by belonging. So we're trying to avoid silos more in the things we do as an organization, and even our plan is integrated across those things. So I'm going to walk through some of the key goals and show you kind of the connection between your plan and the strategic plan. So one of our goals is to increase sense of safety. There are a lot of things we do as an organization that are related to safety. Everything from like what you see and feel when you ride down a path or you're in a park, to the work that our police department does, our fire department, our emergency management. Like there's so many things that impact safety. Some of the key ones are the Community Safety Initiative and the payroll tax. The Vision Zero Eugene, and I bring that out because in your plan in the transportation section, you specifically talk about things related to traffic safety, particularly here in your neighborhood. So there is a good nexus between this goal of increased sense of safety and some of what you have in your plan, particularly that transportation section. We have a goal around advancing climate action and also our community's resilience to things. And one of our emergency manager just told me we should change this to events, not disasters, which I think was a good call, because there are a lot of things that happen that aren't a disaster, but there are things we need to build resilience to. So there is, I'm gonna hide, see if I can hide this. The nexus here with the areas you have back there in terms of this goal, but transportation, parks and natural resources, and the community section of your plan all have a relationship here. So these are the major plans that we have as an organization that advance this goal. So our climate action plan is the key one. We have an urban forestry plan. We have a wildland urban interface plan to work on wildfire. And then we have our emergency operations plans. So as you're thinking about your actions that are within these areas and you're wanting to work on those, these are the plans, these are the parts of the organization that are working on those things. Twin goals here around stabilizing the cost of housing, and then a goal related to homelessness. This is, both of these are issues that you mentioned in the land use section as well as the community section of your plan. The comprehensive plan managed out of the planning and development department is sort of the big one here. All of our housing, or most of our housing and homelessness work, happens out of that department. So the comprehensive plan, the urban growth strategies project that's going on right now, which really brings a lot of that work together under one umbrella, that's really where you want to engage around housing related issues. The housing implementation pipeline is basically a 5-year plan for all the work we're doing as an organization around housing and homelessness. So that is a roadmap for everything we're going to do. And so that's also a great place to go and a great place to engage. They're constantly, providing updates on their website, 1-year plans on what they're doing, what they're working on. So you can go there for more as you're trying to advance these actions around these areas. There are several goals related to kind of, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, maybe we should wait to the end, but I have a quick question. When you say you could go here, are you talking about a website or a group of people that meet, or?
Metaphorically go here? Yeah, so, right? So it's, as you're, if you're looking to see if there's a connection between your housing related actions and what we're doing as an organization, the urban growth strategies project, the housing implementation pipeline, those are the places, their plans, their people. I won't give you all the details on exactly who to contact, but in the general sense, yeah. Few goals here related to economic development, one around downtown, one around supporting local businesses, and then one around increasing wages. So you had a bunch of things in your economic development portion of your plan that relate to this. This is primarily the downtown plan as well as the priorities and projects list for downtown, very centered on downtown, really as an area. Most communities, if you've got a thriving downtown, the rest of the community starts to do well. We don't have a thriving downtown, I think, as much as we would like. So that's why the emphasis on downtown. And then a lot of the other stuff related to wages and local businesses is in the Mayor's Blue Ribbon panel on economic development. There are key strategies in there that our staff are now working on. So these are the metaphorical places to go to for the connection between what's back there and what the city's working on. There are a few other plans I wanted to mention that aren't necessarily in this or aren't necessarily tiered to the strategic plan, but that are important for what you have on your list. One is our transportation system plan. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. That's sort of the place to go for all things transportation that we're working on. The Parks and Recreation Systems Plan has a good nexus with your parks and natural resources items that you've surfaced. And then the Stormwater Basin Master Plan that's being updated right now, sort of basin by basin, and many of the things, or not many, but a few key things in your natural resources section because of the importance of stormwater out here. And that conveyance system, that is a great place to go for that. Really what that means is we have a lot of plans, and I'm sorry we do. And someday maybe we can make that all easier to navigate, but that's what I think we want to be here for as you're going forward on this work, is to help you connect the dots between what you want to do and what we're doing to find the best way to do it rather than you have to try to figure us out. We know we're not easy to figure out, so I think we're here as the work goes forward to help you find the best way to plug into the city. So what's next? What's coming up? We're about to launch another iteration of the community survey. It's a little bit tied up in some of our budget issues right now, not so much the funding, but it's a lot being talked about in the community right now. So we're holding on the community survey at the moment, but hopefully that'll happen at some point this year. We did a year one annual report, which you can find on our website. It says everything we did in year one to support the plan. We're working on the year two one. That'll be presented to council in September. You can find out more about the strategic plan on our website. There's also a link to the community survey results there as well. If you want to dig deeper on all the cool stuff that came out in the community survey, that's the place to go. Here's my contact information as well as my email address if you want to reach out to me for anything. All right, that's what I've got. What questions do you have? What's not clear? What dirt on the city do you want to know? Not that I would know it, but yeah.
A couple of things, Jason. Thanks for coming. What is not in the plan that has been clearly stated by the city council in the past several months is their intention for placing middle housing is going to focus on River Road to Santa Clara. So I'm just pointing that out because it's not a plan, but it's a goal, and we need to keep that in mind.
Yep.
So that leads me to my question. Are you suggesting that as we look at our ideas and goals in our neighborhood, we're likely to have better success if it meshes with those plans?
Yes.
And what do we do if they don't?
Well, I mean, there are, and that's a question we have internally too, because there are a lot of things we are still doing as a city that aren't called out in the plan. And so we keep doing all of those things. And that's why I don't want to say, if you don't see a connection between those things in our strategic plan, that doesn't mean give up on those and don't work on that. Because there are still parts of the organization, I'm sure, that are working on those things. If you had some things that came across as priorities for you, they would have extra oomph if they were connected to portions of the plan. So I don't think that should be a screen for only prioritize things that are here. I think you need to prioritize what's important to you, find a way to get it done. But it's sort of like I often say, you want to kind of hitch your wagon to the train that's going. And the strategic plan is we're trying to tie as many things as we can to that. And so those things are more likely to go. So I think finding those connections is helpful.
And finally, can you make this available to us so we can know where those are?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've read through the strategic plan a number of times, and there's a lot of awesome content in it. And of course, what eventually is actually manifested. But the term sustainability shows up a number of times. And I'm kind of wondering if the city has ever sat down with city staff or outside consultants or members of the community and trying to figure out what really is sustainable. Is this plan any way related to, we want to have create a sustainable community that can endure into the future without wrecking the planet? I have my doubts myself, but where does the conversation include sustainability and any other kind of a possible version of sustainability that doesn't really include a lot of what we're used to?
Mhm. I think a couple answers to that. I think the practical piece is the goal around climate action and community resilience, that we need to have a resilient community. That's sort of the practical answer. That's where we do that work as an organization right now, sort of implementing the climate action plan. I think where we're trying to be more as an organization is more proactive, looking at where we want to be. Not just because land use, we do that already because of state law. We're looking 20, 50 years down the road, but not so much in terms of the larger community. Like, what are the trends that are coming? What do we see that's going to happen as a community that we need to be ready for now? I think we want to do a better job of that. And I think, to your point, making sure that the decisions we're making are sustainable for a long-term future is a lens that we want to put on the strategic plan, and that I would like to see us put on the plan, that we'll hopefully do as we continue to kind of evolve the plan. We're going to revisit in a couple of years. We could even revisit it this year when we bring back survey results to council. They might say, you know what, we want to tweak this, or we want to include something that's not in the plan. So it is a living document, and I think giving it more of a sustainability lens is something that I'd like to see us do. So it's a long way of saying I agree with you. It's not, doesn't have that lens right now.
I will contact you.
Please do. Email address, find me. What else? Yeah.
I was wondering, I really liked seeing the belonging part of the thing, because that's kind of what my world is, oriented around. And part of what we've been doing is a lot of free community events, and, by donation. And one of the barriers to doing that is finding affordable inside spaces to do it in. Like, most of the city spaces or church spaces or whatever cost a fairly significant amount of money to rent, which then people either have to swallow or pass it on to the people who come. And in terms of like being inclusive and being, feeling a sense of belonging, I really, from my experience, having things be low or no cost really increases the feeling of everybody's welcome here. We're not editing people out because of lack of funds. So I'm just wondering if the city is open to partnerships with people who are doing free events, to have some sort of low cost basis to host these things in, if that would be something the city might be interested in.
I think it probably is, just because I think in particular our library, recreation, cultural services department, which is our community centers, library, health center, a lot of those spaces that can host those kinds of things is currently working on their own departmental strategic plan. And one of the things they're thinking really hard about is what is the sort of the niche of their services, different from other entities that might be providing similar services. And sort of the equity and access piece is one that's coming up. That sure, we might offer programs as a city that are the same as a for-profit entity is offering, but why do we offer ours? And more often than not, it's something to do with equity and access. It's lower cost, or it's available to more people. And so I think it is a core value of that work. I already know that as part of that work, they've had discussions about making spaces a bit more available, because that is sort of how we do the belonging work as a community. I can't commit that that's what we're going to do, but people are talking about exactly what you're saying.
Great.
Because we've got resources that we have spaces that we could use maybe differently than we do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jolene. So I don't know. So I've been involved in neighborhood planning for a very, very long time, and I've taken a big step back, partly because I felt like I wasn't quite sure how much change was being affected by the work that we were doing. and this probably speaks to your role also, and I'm gonna try to say this and not be like a huge negative Nelly, but, I guess I would like to know what's different about this strategic plan and our engagement versus what we've done for the previous 20 years, for instance, because we've identified many priorities and goals which are in alignment with all of these planning documents. And I just think we've said it and said it and said it in many different ways. We've had lots and lots of public outreach. So I guess I'm hopeful that you can tell me what's different in terms of our engagement. You know, when you or the city says you can do this, you know, you can work on this, and I feel like we're just people. I mean, we're just neighbors, and we live here and we work and we have families and kids, and I just don't know, like, what's the next step that we can take as a neighborhood to really get us some of the results that we've been talking about for so long.
I'm gonna let Cindy speak to that.
Implementation.
Yeah.
I know it's like, I would love to see action, and I would have, anyway, I mean, we talked to the first planner many years ago, and we were like gonna get the plan done in 17 months, and I said, you know, some people felt like time was passing, but I thought what we're talking about are really basic human needs in terms of community planning and action. And it's like our basic human needs really haven't changed, really. And so I just would like to know what's different this time that would, for instance, encourage me to be involved.
Yeah, I'll let Cindy speak to that as part of her stuff. I think as it relates to the strategic plan, we probably have, no, not probably, we do have more work to do to incorporate a lot of the great work that you all do as part of neighborhood planning. You're identifying the things that matter to the community, to you. And when you roll all those things up at the community level, those should be the things that ultimately get reflected in the strategic plan. So I take to heart what you said. And as we think about the next iteration of the strategic plan, I think it needs to reflect the community. If it doesn't, then we haven't done the job. And so that, at least for me personally, I want to see more of that, because I think you all are closest to what's happening. You know the needs better than we do in some places. And so I can't commit that it's going to be different, but I think having a strategic plan is at least different than it used to be. And Cindy can talk to more of the details about neighborhood planning and what can be different in the future. So if you didn't get a chance to ask anything, or you think about something after tonight, definitely send me an email. I'm there every day, hanging around on email. So I will respond and happy to answer any questions that you have that way. Thank you.
Jolene is expressing a frustration that a lot of us have.
Yep.
Because we've worked on plans and we've seen them shelved. And so my hope is that this one will be different.
You have a,
Cindy,
yes. should be following this. Oh, okay, good question, comments. There we go. Ta-da. Thank you, Jolene. Thank you. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, everyone. Great to see everyone here tonight. I am Cindy Koehler. I am the Neighborhood and Community Liaison for the City of Eugene in the Office of Equity and Community Engagement. I'm gonna let Julien introduce himself.
My name is Julien. I'm the program coordinator, and I've been in this office for a little over a year.
And Julien is the cat herder, and I am the cat. So he keeps me in line, keeps me going, keeps me organized. So our office, we have 5 people in our office, and we have 3 core areas that we support. One is the Human Rights Commission. We support their work and their subcommittee work. We also support the Neighborhoods program. That's Julie and I. Our core area is we have 23 formally recognized neighborhood associations. 21 are residential. 19 are active. So we provide direct support to all 19 of those neighborhood associations, and we're trying to get the other 2 neighborhood associations active, but we're not there yet. So that's pretty much our core area. And we also, our team provides its equity and community engagement. So one of our larger core areas is community engagement. And of course, the neighborhood associations are a key component in that community engagement process. So you are the ears, you are the voices, you are the sharers and collectors of information, and we so value and appreciate you. So thank you for all of that work. And we also, with the community engagement piece, we provide support to the entire organization on their community engagement processes to ensure that they're done through the lens of equity and that they're cultivating a culture of belonging. We also, our office provides a belonging training to all city staff. They're all required to go to a belonging training. It's a 4-part series on cultivating a sense of belonging and inclusion in the community. So all 1,400 employees have gone through that belonging training. So it's a pretty big deal. And I've been with the organization for going on 28 years now. This is the best training that I've ever been to. And I didn't write it or have anything to do with the curriculum. It was all our program manager, Fabio Andrade. So it's just, we do offer it to the neighborhood associations once a year. So stay tuned. We'll be offering it again. Anyway, that's our office. Connecting the dots. Jason talked about connecting the dots. We have, as you saw, a number of plans. Oh, thank you for fixing that slide. Oh, technology is amazing, but it works well. And I could not get the slide to work well. So you saw all of those different plans. So we are taking a different approach to planning. We're currently involved in a planning process with the university area. It involves 4 neighborhoods. So South University, West University, Amazon, and Fairmount. And then also in the Bethel community. So it's the active Bethel community, Transong neighbors, West Eugene Community Organization, and the Industrial Corridor. Those last 2 are largely industrial, so their participation is a little more limited. But we are taking a totally, to your question, taking a totally different approach to the planning efforts. We are using an integrated approach where we capture community vision needs and priorities. A lot of them, you've already done all of the work, You've done a lot of the work. It's capturing the community vision needs and priorities and connecting them to the existing plans that we have in place and finding out, just connecting those dots to the different plans and how your plan can influence or it's either included in the existing plans or can influence those plans as they become updated. So for example, the comprehensive plan is currently being updated. It's a 20-year look forward for Eugene. The transportation system plan is also being reviewed and updated. Eugene's Parks and Rec system, they just updated their plan. I think they just finished updating their plan. So they will come review their plan in another 5 or 7 years. We've also got the climate friendly and equitable communities plan in place. So there are ways where your plan can connect with existing plans. And to speak, somebody asked the question, what about the things that aren't identified in the plan? Those we capture also, and we work together on how we can meet those needs, how we can address those concerns and act on those together outside of the 20 different plans, the 20 different planning processes that we have. That kind of makes sense. Julien, does that?
Oh, don't ask me.
Oh, okay. It's a lot. It's a very different approach. It's taking a look at, it really is connecting the dots between the different plans. So with the priorities that have been identified, there were about 250 action items in the River Road Santa Clara plan. Spoiler alert, we're not going to be able to do those all this year. So, but they were about 116 that were priorities out of the 250 action items under 18 different goals. So we had a couple of events and we brought these poster boards to the different events, and we're asking community. We already have a list of the priorities from the Community Advisory Committee. We're asking community to help us take that 116 items and what are the big priorities? What are the things that we need to work on together in the next 12 months, in the next 14 months? What items are those? And then once we accomplish those, we'll come back to the community and say, okay, here's the status of these items. Where can we go next? So hopefully everybody here had their dots and has been voting. Everybody get dots?
Some of us will vote after.
Okay, perfect. That's perfect. And with those dots, if there's one thing that's, it's, you know, burning on your mind, you can put all your 6 dots on that one thing, or you can spread them out over all the things. We just need to really take a look at these goals and find out what the priorities are and work on those. So one of our tools that we're using is the Engage Eugene page. So there was an Engage Eugene page for the whole planning process that was designed by the planning department. They've given us the keys to this page. So this presentation, Jason's presentation, and contact information. And as we're moving through these different action items, we will update this page and it'll be available for comments. You can pin items. You can ask questions on this page, and we're using that information to inform the planning process as we move forward, not the planning process, the action items as we move forward in those. So has anybody been to that page? Okay, so we'll get some more folks there. That's good. We'll send the link out to Beth for the newsletter. Okay. And we'll start collecting some information and planning our work. Oh, I think that's it. Nope, that was the last of our, I'll go back. Oh, nope. Hang on. I know, there should be another page. There we go. Okay. So the whole premise, the whole, I guess our mantra is with our planning process is the last thing we want you all to have is a planning document that you keep on your bookshelf that has wonderful, glorious pictures in it and some really great ideas. We actually want to have something that's actionable and workable and realistic. And the whole goal of our planning process is to plan with the community instead of planning for the community. So that's why we're using some of these tools that we have available in Envision or Engage Eugene, and working with the community to refine the goals that we're going to start working on immediately. There is one question.
Yeah, hi, I'm Louisa. I guess what we were hoping with the end of the planning process, because we reviewed all the plans, right? We initially heard, well, everything you do will have a lot more oomph if it's already in one of our many, many plans. So we did, we read them all when we developed the neighborhood plan. And what we wanted to see was sort of the crosswalk between what we're saying, what you're doing, and then your actual work plan for what are you going to do under those plans that will benefit us in this goal that we have in our neighborhood plan. Something that we can sort of see, like, where is the city starting to check these boxes? Where did we ask for funding for this thing or a grant that went out for this thing? Is that what you're hoping for with the Engage page? Or is, like, how can we see without us going back to do all the work to find what plan is and then go find the planner that's doing the thing, kind of receiving that information?
Well, we're hoping, because you've already done the work, it's what we're doing with the Bethel plan and the university plan is they're in the phase where they're still collecting information. So they're collecting their information, then we'll begin working on the visioning and the action planning. You've already done all of that work. So I think it's really on, and thank you to the CAC for designating the different items, and are they city responsibility, county responsibility, community responsibility, or community partners, or all of the above? That is really helpful. So the things that the city can help with, the things that the city is tasked with, we will be the ones that identify those. We're not expecting the community to come in and find it in the plan. That's really our role, connecting with city staff and finding out exactly where those connect in our existing plans. That sort of your question?
And when the city is taking an initiative or received grant funding that will benefit something that's in the neighborhood plan, how will we know?
We will tell you. You are our partners in this. This isn't a city plan. This is our plan. This is your plan. This is the neighborhood plan.
And how will we do it?
Through the neighborhood association.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
And I think the plan is to get a committee together tonight or potentially soon, relatively soon.
Yeah.
Where we can begin working on these action items.
Yeah, hopefully tonight, we'd like to gather people that are interested, both Santa Clara and River Road, and begin to work with you.
And I do just want to say something to your point also is that we have started a tool. We have an Excel spreadsheet that we are starting to track whether there's some activity happening on this. So we're kind of going through them on our end. And part of the idea is when we have these action items for Bethel University, we're going to give them to our interdepartmental team all at the same time.
Right.
So that they all can start piecing and really figuring out in the plans that they're responsible for what action items are being addressed for these 3 different plans. And so then we're going to also identify which things are already in plan, which things aren't, and those are probably going to be some of the things that we really bring back to talk more in depth about. Okay, here are the things that are moving forward in these ways, and then here are the things that are not being plans, and how do we want to go about addressing this?
I don't know who is next.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Oh, thanks. I wasn't around for the planning process. I've been involved in various other strategic plans, and one comment I have about that first before my question is that sometimes I have seen the strategic plan activity hijack all of the energy and activity of everyone involved, and it becomes the thing to do that sucks up all the oxygen, and all that is ever done is planning and reviewing and updating and all of that. And I would just hope that that is not the fate of all of this work.
Right.
My question is, and maybe it's for other people, but my question is all of this River Road strategic planning evidence, all of this wonderful work that's up there, do all of those items, action items, depend on the city? Okay, they can be done from RRCO or Santa Clara on up.
Yeah, many of the action items there,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's not like waiting for the city to connect the dots. It's what's it waiting for?
Thank you.
Within the community. There's
Right.
a lot that requires a partnership, and there's an awful lot that requires the city and the county and the metro area to take charge of things like transportation.
Yeah.
But everything in there is categorized by it's cheap, it's medium, it's expensive, it's short-term, medium-term, long-term, it's easy, it's medium, it's difficult to do, and then it's organized by, who are the partners, who can do it?
Yeah.
Is it a public-private partnership? Is it just the neighborhood association? Is it a municipality?
Yeah.
So every action, all 258 action items are sorted out in that way. You could go online and look through that and
Okay.
figure that out.
Okay, that sounds really good.
The committee did a great job of really identifying, really putting a lot of thought into how the action items can play out. And they really did a great job, so making our work.
At the time that went through was 3 years, 4 years,
I was over 6
over 6 years.
Yeah.
COVID was in there.
Yeah, but.
Kate, you might want to go ahead. Well, Jerry had a question.
Yeah, it kind of segues into my question, and that is, as you mentioned, there are different responsibilities in the plan. A large portion of the plan, the responsibility falls on the community. There's a community, a neighborhood culture kind of part to the plan, and as long as River Road and Santa Clara keep working together, that's going to be okay. Beth has kind of got the ball rolling, and so has Kate. But boards change, and the community organizations change, and some of us who've been with it for years will not be around. And so, how can your office help to keep this ball rolling?
Right, that's that's a great question, because 258, is that what you said, 258 action items. Like I said, we're not going to get that done this year and maybe not next year also. But we hope to work our way through all of them. And it's going to take all of us to get that done. Because like I said, I've been with the city for, going on 28 years. I'm not going to go for another 28 years. And I will miss you all dearly, but I'm not going to go off for another 28 years. So it's going to take all of us working together to keep this action plan alive. So that's where you all will come in with holding our feet to the fire. Holding my feet to the fire, holding Julian's feet to the fire. And all of us just working together. That's the Engage Eugene page. There we go. Engage Eugene page is a great way to, we get weekly, those reports come to us weekly. We get weekly reports from how many people have looked at the page, how many people have commented, how many people have asked questions. Let's keep this page very active so that it keeps it front and center. And we'll send out a QR code or a link, whatever's easier on you, Beth.
Probably a link.
Okay, a link so that you all can have this and be able to comment on it. Did you have
And I was just gonna say, within this plan too, you do have a layer of accountability baked in there. I'm wanting to have a year meeting with executives and staff to kind of talk about how things are moving forward. So we did talk about how that's likely gonna happen late summer, early fall, because there's gonna be a lot of engagement happening in the summer. And then like Jason showed, there's gonna be the annual review of the plan for the second year. And so when we talked to planning staff, they were hoping that by the time we come back in like late summer, early fall, we'll kind of have an idea of what has been moving forward in the regular strategic plan. And we would have also finished with both of the other neighborhood info sessions. So then we're going to be done compiling all of their stuff, sending it to staff. So by the time we get to that meeting, we're hoping that everybody is kind of on the same page, knows what's happening, so that that meeting isn't a waste of everybody's time and that we can actually see where things are moving forward. So there will be that yearly meeting. And outside of that, we're still going to be trying to engage with people to make sure that that meeting is worth that time.
So Juliet will be involved in that meeting, is that
Right, and I'm not sure how y'all want to do that, and if it would be you would appoint a couple people from your committee, or if it would be like inviting staff to meetings like this. Like we're really, we have a lot of openness to do what works for you all, so we can kind of think about that.
Okay, I'm gonna let Kate go ahead and then you can take questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kate Hurley. I'm the chair of the Santa Clara Community Organization, and I was a co-chair of the neighborhood planning process. Lived on Oakley Lane for 8 years before I moved to Santa Clara, and I've been there for 26 years now. I think the most important part I can sort of bring to you in the feeling of frustration about how do we get from planning to implementation in our neighborhood? How do we get the resources to see the changes we've spent so much time agonizing wordsmithing? And I think a big part of that is this annual meeting that we've talked about. That's baked into the plan, that our neighborhoods get to have a meeting with the department heads, and maybe it'll be the one meeting with all the different neighborhood plans. But then they can inform us about where they're going, what kind of grant opportunities on their horizon, where do they see opportunities, and we can bring the knowledge of our own plan to that meeting and say, oh, well, there's synergy here. And so let's pick this action item. So I know in our community organization, I put it to our board that I'm tired of being a catcher. I want us to be a pitcher. You know, like we do a great job of reacting to all the different things that come on through different municipalities, through development pressures, through all the different things that happen. But we're not really great at choosing our path. And to do that, we need to look at our neighborhood plan document and pick out some priorities that we think we want to work on. And so what we did in our neighborhood association was to divide up the 5 topic areas, try to get 2 people for each topic area to go through and look at all the action items and try to make a top 10 list. So then we get 50 action items to work from. And so although the document, the actual action plan has all those action items laid out and categorized in all those different ways we talked about, and there's priority lists in there. it might not be where we've got really good juju going on in our neighborhood right now. And if we've got energy to do something that isn't at the top priority, but we've got people, that's where we put energy, because success is what brings participation. If people feel like they can do something and they see a result, then we're likely to stay involved. And really the best opportunity for us is to build capacity in our neighborhood associations, which means more people who want to serve, more people who want to join, more people who want to get involved. And that builds community, which is the basis of the entire neighborhood. So that should be the start of a neighborhood plan. So for us, it's about trying to capture where people have passion. And so that's when we sent them away with the action items. We said, wherever you think that you've heard somebody else has passion, or you personally have passion about something, pick that item. Even if it seems impossible long-term and very expensive with only government doing it, that's okay. Pick the passion project, because that's where we're gonna get traction. So that's how we've approached it so far. Our board had a work session. We all brought back the priorities, and that's as far as we've gotten so far. But it starts to whittle things down a little bit, because it's paralytic to look at 258 actions and all the blah, 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 blah that comes with it, and not know how to start, because, yeah. So that's how I look at it, and push my board to look at it. Yeah. Great. Sounds great.
Yeah. I have a question. So up there, there's like majority of dots are on 9 things. Could we say, okay, city, these are 9 things we want to do. We want to find it on by 206. We've got 258 of them, give us some time. If you don't do 6, you get it done.
We haven't
Right.
figured out the process, like how do we work with
I just
you,
figured it
work with the departments, but we're just trying to figure it out now. Like, I think we had a little bit of, fatigue about the whole neighborhood plan. And so I know personally, I was like, I don't want to think about it, don't want to talk about it after all that. But now I feel like, okay, well, let's go. We want to pitch. If we're going to pitch, we got to get up to the plate.
Yes.
And it's going to require advocacy. So the most important thing to know about the neighborhood plan is that's just like the pre-plan. The actual plan is us getting up and saying, okay, well, these are what's important, and this is how we advocate. And we ask, like, who do we go to? Like, Jason, who do we need to talk to about this action item? Cindy, how do we get funding for this? And that, it doesn't mean that we have to make it happen in terms of doing the actual coaching or something, but we need to be the people who make it happen by asking for it to happen.
Yeah, a couple of things. A lot of our work, we have talked about our biggest fears and our greatest hopes, and a way of getting that stuff out there. I should say who I am. Not everybody knows who I am. I'm John Belcher. I was the other co-chair for River Road of the planning process. I'm going to do my hope first and then my fear. The way things work now, in my experience, is I get a call from someone in the transportation planning staff saying, we're going through this grant and we would like the neighborhood to write a letter of recommendation. Can you get it to us in 3 days? That whole planning process was done with zero involvement of the neighborhood. And we're just asked to come into the end and say, yeah, that's great. My hope was, and Kate kind of keyed on it, is that we will change the process where we talk about what we want, and whichever staff it is talks about what they want, and we actually start that conversation at the beginning, not the end of the process. And talking to the execs is not going to get us there. It's important that we have those discussions with the people who are actually deciding what is going to happen in the city. So my hope is that that is what we do. Now my fear. We all know that the city has a remand coming up about their budget. And the city has said, if the remand succeeds and nothing else changes, there is no neighborhood program. So how are we going to do this planning process if we don't have neighborhoods?
Well, actually, I can kind of speak to that. So the neighborhood associations are formally recognized, and that's through the neighborhood organization recognition policy. So the neighborhood associations exist. All 23 neighborhood associations exist. That doesn't go away. What goes away is the support and funding.
So we
What
could
could
be
go-
a neighborhood organization, but they wouldn't have any money to pay for this.
I don't know. I can't even speak to that.
That's what no funding means. So I would like you guys to develop a contingency plan. We're gonna start down this path, that there's a way we can actually work through that.
And then I want to expand on the thing that Kate said, and when the CAC was working, we knew that a lot of these goals, a lot of the actions, depended on a champion. That there's a lot of things there. If a person was passionate about one of those things and would run with it, then it would move. It would actually accomplish what it wanted to. If there's no champion, there's a good chance that that goal or that action would languish. And that means, of course, that people need to become very familiar with these actions and not let somebody else step forward. You have to look at them yourself and say, hey, this is important to me. I want to go ahead and spearhead this.
Go ahead.
One of my concerns is, I know, I wasn't here for this process, but in other strategic planning processes, there's a huge learning that happens over the course of time as the groups are discussing all these different areas and developing priorities. So I'm gonna step into a group where I don't have any of that background. Is every single group gonna have someone who has that background? So that we're keying off of that rather than just starting in the blank?
Standing on the shoulders of those who have learned it already. And not recreating
I
the show.
think that really our best chance of success is to work together as River and Santa Clara together. We've had a long history of work, long before the neighborhood plan. We had 20 years of working together, creating our own communities, to reach out to the neighbors, to find out what's important. We have more in common than we don't, and our priorities won't perfectly align. You'll have different priorities than we will, and that's okay. And you'll work on, where we have commonality, we'll work on those together. And where we don't, we'll work on them separately. But creating a subcommittee that's willing to help whittle down the action plan to the things that we want to work on this year, and doing that annually, I think is really going to help us actually make some progress. And I wouldn't worry about not having history about it. If there's something you're revved up about that you want to see change, just show up and say, hey, does this, you can look and see if it exists in here. It's pretty well indexed by topic. And if you don't find it, you could say, was this ever talked about? Is there anybody else who wants to work on something? The other thing that's baked in is we look at our plan every 5 years, and see, are we meeting our objectives? If we're not, what do we need to be doing differently? Or maybe our priorities have totally changed. Maybe in 5 years, there's no more cars, and then all of a sudden there's all this pavement, and think of all the bicycles we can make in the street art, and who knows? And we get to change. It allows us to evolve and become the best possible versions of our neighborhood. It just requires us to step up to make that happen.
And this is really the reason for the subcommittee, so that it doesn't get put on a shelf and go away, but actually something actually happens. Yes, Jim.
Would it be appropriate? I'm glad, I'm a little challenged myself, but I can tell there's interest, in doing something with this. And the city has to be a part of this too, but I think most of this is kind of up to us. Would it make sense for people to go back and look at these posters and actually put their name on something, on one of these, two of these items, as a resource, for not being necessarily the chairperson of that particular topic, but somebody who's interested, because a lot of these, there's a lot of dots, and some of them don't have so many dots. But is that appropriate, to put our names on here as a way to make some kind of a statement. I'm interested in this.
Yeah, do we have any sticky notes? Anybody? We do. So you can do that if you wanted to. I mean, I'm not suggesting that the subcommittee of the two of our neighborhoods is gonna do all the work, and then all anybody else has to do is say, I really want you to do this. Because that's not gonna happen.
This is a chance to get more people involved.
Right.
To register their interests.
Terry?
So there's a committee for this whole thing. Are there also committees for each of the four areas?
Could be.
It's up to us to decide. We're just making it up as we go right now.
Okay.
And the important thing is that we maintain that connection with the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. On the critical part, we heard about the economics and is the change of administration. Are we afraid that there's even less money for grants and things like that, or can we expect big changes?
You know, that's not really something I can speak to. I just don't know.
That there's no talk about it at all on the city level.
I'm sure there's talk about it, but I don't have any answers. Just don't have any answers.
Certainly it's impacting the strategy though. Do you have any insight on that?
Think about the overall financial resilience of the organization. You have to be taking a hard look at how much we're relying on funding sources that may not be stable versus ones that are. And so I think you're seeing cities around Oregon spending more time focusing on how the state funds cities as opposed to thinking about federal government, because that's pretty uncertain right now. So I think we've got our eye on it, because it's creating instability financially for the organizations, but we don't know where it's going. But we do have our eye on it because it's a vulnerability for us. Any federal funds are a vulnerability right now. Thankfully, we're not hugely dependent on federal funding, but a lot of it is state. But we've got our eye on it. It's a thing for sure.
What's your percentage? Is that dependent?
I don't know, actually. I know we're in the process of figuring that out, because we want to know collectively how many federal grants we have. We'll have that. We'll know.
Is transportation a big part of that federal funding?
Yeah. Yeah.
So just a total side note, is the Chambers Connector fully funded, like the earthquake rehab?
I don't know.
I saw the workshop.
Part of it was, so we already had the funding
We already
for
have
it,
it,
yeah,
yeah.
so.
Well,
That's
so what? I mean, as far as what I read, so what? So I'm just wondering, because there was work done and now there's nothing being done.
Well, the sub order was for, was the bike ped access. There was something going on with bike ped access. They needed to stop for a minute and address that, and then they can resume. Actually, they're supposed to resume this week. They did check in with the engineering on that. Yeah. Fine.
I wonder about events or about projects that are already going on right now. I think there's a lot of things going on in the neighborhood that might go away or might not get support. I don't think they necessarily need money, but I think they need city support in other ways. And personally, I've had a lot of frustration trying to go down these roads with already existing events and things that meet these criteria. And I know a lot of people in this room are doing a lot of community projects that already exist. And they're very tenuous. They might go away.
Go ahead.
Thanks. I'm still kind of new to RRCO, and I wonder if already existing committees, focus committees within the RRCO structure align with, I mean, maybe that's an approach. If committees that already exist align with the actions that get the most dots, if there's a working synergy there within our neighborhood association.
John?
There's two that sort of works, sort of two that got more, we're bringing the transportation committee on the next week or two. And the next one to come into play is land use. So those are two areas, land use are more or less already there. Unfortunately, land use right now is me and a few other people in the community. But Julie Hughes was offline. But we need to grow it so we can do this planning, correct? But as far as economics or community, as far as I know, we don't have anything in place already.
And the committees have been essentially inactive over
The
the
committees
last
that
year.
were for the plan, yes,
Yeah.
we had well-functioning committees back then,
Right.
which took a lot of effort and energy and funding to be able to meet.
Yes.
I just want, I know we need to close up, but I wanted to re-enter that subject about the pesticides at River Road Park. And if there's anyone on the board, because I know we're all scattered about right now, is how does that work now on being able to say, can River Road Community Organization write a letter to the Emerald Park to be able to say, we really don't want there to be pesticides, and can we implement something else that feels a little bit more safer for us as a whole? I don't want to speak just me, but maybe as a raising hand, who would like to not have Roundup being sprayed at River Road Pool, Emerald Park? Okay, that would be majority. So,
So it would be a matter of putting together a letter and sending it to the board.
yeah, is there anyone on the board that would be willing to set up a letter, and then it goes from there?
I think you should write a draft, Jen.
I got it.
And you should send it to the board and ask them to clean it up and send it back to you. You figure out a version that works, and then the board can vote on it to the group.
Yeah, okay, that's the way it works. You say.
Yeah.
And if you're up for it, I'd really like to know what the city does, because it would be awesome to be able to say, the city uses blah, 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 and there's much less. So if they have a next step to go to.
I find that, I'm just curious what the governance of it is at River Road Park. I mean, I'm assuming that they have meetings and that community members can be engaged and participate in those. And to me, that would be the avenue to take this concern.
Yeah.
Would be a voice there.
So what, after what Jan said, I think before we take a position, we should at least hear what the River Road Park District has to say.
And actually, aren't you meeting monthly with,
Well, we're just beginning to connect with the park. And Clara and I met with, excuse me, the new director a week ago, Jana. And we're hoping to improve that relationship. And so I think your comment is very well taken. And we could bring that.
She's new, and you know, and so this is a good time to establish
Absolutely.
reciprocity and community
Absolutely.
engagement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they do have a board. They meet once a month. Their meeting is the third Wednesday, I think, of the month, but I'll have to check that. So maybe we can get together. and talk about that.
Yeah.
I think the new director is very community oriented.
She is.
And I have found in my group communications with her and the presentations that they did with some speakers and book readings in the last year, I think she's somebody we can work with.
I would agree, and I think she's very anxious to develop that relationship. John?
The last question I have is, anyone know where my son is?
it's over there.
Over there. Thank you.
Did everybody?
Is this a transportation committee?
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody want to sign that hasn't? Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
I just want to pitch, in terms of transportation, don't just think cars, buses and things, we're dealing with safety in our community, streets, traffic calming, pedestrian right of ways, everything that gets people moving around. And so, I mean, to me, that is primary. Yeah.
Could you tell us what the areas are in the neighborhood plan where we might want to take action?
They're back here. Land use, transportation, economic development, community parks, and natural resources. And all of the action items are underneath that.
Those are actually the policies. The action items are too many to list there.
Right.
Yeah, just the headings.
Is that your
Yeah, it's, if you go to the River Road Santa Clara, River Road Santa Clara plan.org, you can find all the stuff that was ever done, every community outreach event and all the little chits of paper and. 6 years in there.
more than you want to know.
If we can link that to the Eugene page, we'll have to plan on that page as well.
Jim,
Yeah, and there's a sticker back there, you can sort of look, there's a code, a number that applies to each one of those action items. So it's easy to sort of identify what you're interested in.
and those of you that would like to be a part of that subcommittee, if you could meet with Kate and I right after this meeting, and we'll see if we can set up a date. Anything else for the good of the order? Thank you, Jason, Cindy, Julien, thank you so much.